Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. Surprise, surprise, I am back in the Emerald Coast for a period of time. But anyways, we're just going to start right up, so that's one of the few surprises. I'm also probably going to be doing a G Fuel unboxing video soon. I've got like several flavors I have to review that I think are in the other room. Also, as you can tell from the audio, I am now using a brand new microphone, so the sound quality should be somewhat better now. For a while, most of my videos I've been using a Rock Band handheld microphone, as well as even my old phone microphone for some of my older videos. And just now, I just got a Blue Snowball microphone, which is a pretty great microphone to say the least. It's got some pretty good reviews. I mean, it's not a Yeti Pro or anything like that, but it's made by the same company. It's got really good quality. So that's a pretty big step forward, so to speak. I've also got some other gear to come, like the stand for the microphone, the pop filter. That should all be coming soon. So lots of stuff are coming in. I got through this morning. It took me like an hour and 45 minutes to sort everything out. And I had to get rid of wrappings and stuff like that. I had to all sorts of paperwork and stuff. I'm only halfway done actually cleaning at the moment. Anyway, a bunch of rioting communists have decided to burn down the city of Brooklyn Center in Minnesota for a couple of nights. So what happened is that there was a shooting. An accidental shooting of a man named Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center the other day. Sad situation. He was resisting arrest. Dude should have known better not to resist arrest. Some idiot cop mistaken a taser for a Glock, and she sadly ended up killing the dude. And unfortunately, Antifa communists have decided, well, a black man was shot in the leg by police and died. Which, by the way, you definitely won't miss that part if you watch the MSM, because that's like the headline on every single one of their stories. It's way more complex than that, and I will get into that, but he was shot and killed by police, and I think actually survived for a little while and then died as soon as he bumped into another car. And so there is a bunch of rioting going on, and the people there in Brooklyn Center, the Marxists I'm referring to, instead of deciding to protest peacefully, call for reform, and cry police brutality, which again I'll get into, this isn't an occurrence of police brutality. They decided to loot a bunch of stores, burn down a bunch of businesses, and vandalize a bunch of windows on cars and other buildings. And it's funny, and it's also kind of surreal now that the governor, and especially the mayor even, in a blatant disrespect of his own police force, decided to come out and say, well, I denounce this. This isn't the first time that a black man was shot and killed by police. These cops murdered an unarmed man. A bunch of goddamn fucking horseshit. There's a video, link in the description. There was absolutely no meaningful or deliberate intent or racial motive in the shooting whatsoever. This was an accidental shooting. I mean, take a look at the situation. Police saw that this individual had an expired license plate, so they decided to pull him over after they scanned his plate. He was not pulled over because of the air freshener that was hanging from his rearview mirror, because in the state of Minnesota, hanging things on your rearview mirror is illegal. Because they were identifying him, the cops may have found out that he was also probably wanted for something or have some sort of rap sheet. So the cops decided to handcuff him, and this individual then resisted arrest and tried to get back into his car, and the cops tried to restrain him. Mark my words, no fucking cop in the country right now dares to even attempt to restrain, put their hands on, or draw their weapon on any black individual, even if they are themselves black or they've got fucking sufficient reason, because they've been told by cities, counties, and states alike that they're not going to be supported if they do that. They're going to get fired. They might even get sued, perhaps even arrested. They might even get thrown in jail for the rest of their natural-born lives and charged for first or second-degree murder, regardless of whether the shooting was accidental or not. I'll tell you what really happened in the video, why this wasn't intentional or racially motivated whatsoever. If I was a cop in that situation, I would have tried my best to prevent this situation from happening. I would have told the woman who shot him to put her gun away immediately, pull out my taser, and try to restrain him myself. Here's why. If I pull someone over for having an expired plate, or a person I've been called with an ID of someone who's been wanted with an expired plate, so I pull over the driver and I talk to him. I ask for his license and registration, so I decided to handcuff him, and the dude refuses to obey my order. I'm like, I need to talk to you. And he turns back and forces himself into the vehicle. I see my assistant is trying to restrain him. I tell her to tase him, and she pulls out a Glock instead. If I had known that she had a Glock instead of a taser, I would have told her to stop immediately, pulled out my taser, and dealt with the situation myself. Any reasonable individual would have done exactly what I have just said in these officers' position. This doesn't even have any relation to the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor killings. At least there, it looked like the cops involved had killed them with intent, racial motive, or for no reason. Well, these two were not doing anything wrong. One was cuffed on the ground, getting choked to death, and the other was mistakenly killed during a no-knock raid. That we know is not true, but at least at the outset, those two incidents look like there was some justification in people's anger and their wrath because they looked intentional. Here there's none. And then they go off and people decide to burn a bunch of businesses and loot a bunch of fucking stores over a dude who was not only resisting arrest, but was accidentally killed because of one stupid slip up that could have been prevented and or dealt with accordingly. But nonetheless, BLM and Antifa, they don't give a fucking goddamn shit. And they'll run with these garbage MSM goddamn fucking piece of shit propaganda reports. Look at all the headlines right now. CNN, MSNBC, Axios, Reuters, The Atlantic, all of them. Every single one of them. What are they saying? Black man shot and killed by cops. Oh, well, that's perfect. People have already started to lose interest in Donald Trump now that he's no longer in office. People have already lost interest after what happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Now that we know that what the stories that we heard earlier turned out to be not true, people are starting to lose interest in BLM. They might stop rioting in the streets. We might lose our ratings. What are we gonna do? Would you look at that? Another police-involved shooting. This is wonderful! Let's just distort the story completely. Let's just tell people that it was just an aspect of a black man turned around and a racist white cop decided to fucking gun him down and murder him in his car because of the color of his skin. All because he had a non-existent air freshener hanging from his mirror. What happened was that he was resisting arrest, number one. The dude should have never resisted arrest in the first place. And number two, this moron cop should have known what weapon she was using before she opened fire on this dude and shot his thigh. He was very, very lucky that he didn't apparently die, at least instantaneously. I think he was alive at one point while he was still in the car and trying to flee the scene. And then he didn't die until he bumped into another vehicle, which makes the situation even more confusing because then it would look like that the person wasn't directly killed by the cops, but rather from a car accident. So it wouldn't technically be considered a murder after all. The idiot cop in this situation should have some form of punishment for a negligent mistake, because if you can't tell the difference between a taser and a Glock pistol, I'm sorry, you don't deserve to be a cop because you're clearly too incompetent to know the difference. And as far as the dude who was killed, should have never resisted arrest in the first place, and he should have actually complied. The fact is that the legacy media is spinning the story and claiming that he was shot because he had air freshener in his car, or that the shooting was not an accident, but rather an actual murder, and the cop killed this dude for racial reason. It's just so fucking asinine, and it's fueling the fire and causing more and more of these riots to happen. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBC, and all of these others are absolutely goddamn fucking liable and reprehensible in this kind of fucking bullshit in the United States and even in Canada. And thankfully, people are finally getting very sick and tired of it, and they're tuning out. This shooting, as far as I can tell, based on how much evidence there is, based on everything we see, based on the story as far as we know, and the footage that I have available to actually analyze and review, there was no intent of killing this dude. This was an accidental discharge. The cop should have made fucking sure what weapon she was using to restrain this dude, and the dude who was even getting arrested shouldn't have never resisted arrest in first place and should have actually complied. There are so many ways this whole situation could have been avoided and prevented. I just love it so much. And I find it so astonishing when people on the left say, cops killed, and they take this statistic, let's say a couple hundred people a year or something along those lines, and then they shoot like a couple hundred more that survived. But here's the thing. They never tell you about the accidental and or the justifiable shootings that are involved. The proportion is extraordinary. It's something like almost like 95, 96 to even 97% of them all, I believe. And then in the handful of cases where it's not justifiable nor accidental, it tends to be bullshit, like those extremely bizarre cases that happened in both Dallas and LA. You remember those two cases? You remember 7-8 years back when Christopher Dorner, that black former LAPD cop, decided to go rogue and say, well, the LAPD is corrupt. I'm gonna go into a cop killing spree. And then he killed like several cops, I believe. And he was on the run. And for a while, a manhunt was going on. And the LAPD, as expected by all means, decided to open fire on a bunch of random unrelated vehicles. And by the way, never paid a single goddamn cent in any civil case. Remember a similar situation like this happened in Dallas when that Afghan war vet got pissed off about the recent events and he said he wanted to go on a cop killing spree? And then he killed like 6 cops and wounded 9 others. Those are the people I have sympathy for. And many involved with police shootings and or killings, those are the people I have sympathy for. I have sympathy for you if it was stray fire, if you were involved in an ambush, if it was a misidentification, if it was a rogue cop who just went bananas, if it was an accident or wrongdoing of some sort, any real form of police brutality, if it was a justified shooting or killing, something like that. I have sympathy for you, whoever got killed or blamed, depending on how the story is. I even have sympathy for what happened in Chicago after that 13-year-old got shot by a cop, because the 13-year-old turned out to be armed with a gun and part of a gang of some sort. The situation that we saw in Brooklyn Center, I don't have sympathy for this cop whatsoever. Maybe even the dude. They both should have goddamn fucking known better in their respected positions. Both sides are to blame for this. And again, this was a white cop, and I believe a few others who are of color, trying to restrain a cuffed black dude who was resisting arrest. And the cop mistaken her Glock for a taser and accidentally shot this poor dude. They're not racists. They're being extremely cautious. Yes, the woman should be punished for shooting this man with a Glock instead of a taser. The cop shouldn't even be a cop if he can't tell the difference. And as for the dude, on the other hand, should have actually complied with the police. These people, they probably were taking a knee to this dude before this particular footage was recorded. They probably were panicking in their heads while restraining him and said, "Please, we beg of you, please surrender. Please remain calm. We don't want to hurt you. Don't shoot the poor dude with your Glock. Use your taser. We don't want to get called racists and fired by our cuck city." That's probably what they did and said to each other while this was happening. And of course, while they were handcuffing him, the dude said "fuck you" because that's what any reasonable person would do. And when they realized that he was jumping back into his car and at the very least trying to flee the fucking scene despite the fact that they were openly questioning the fucker, they decided to act appropriately and they did what they were goddamn trained to do. And unfortunately, one of the cops was a complete idiot, and rather than paying attention as to what weapon she was using, she shoots the dude in the leg, causing him to escape and get killed after ramming a car. Do the cops deserve to be fired? Absolutely. I hope that fucking cop does get punished for her stupid mishap in some way. But chances are, she will not get any charge for any form of murder because it wasn't indirect. Neither it was an intentional murder. And the cop used a Glock instead of a taser, resulting in a mishap that should have been controlled regardless on what side you're in. This is all just a stupid accident that resulted in someone's untimely death. But you're never going to hear that from CNN. You're never going to hear that from the Green Quads. You're certainly not going to hear that from the Geek Squad, you know, the AOCs and the Elon Omars and the Rashida Tlaibs and the Maxine Waters. They're going to say, well, this was not an accident. This was an intentional murder. This is another example of a racist white man murdering this poor unarmed dude because of the color of his skin. No, it's not. But that's exactly how they're going to cast it off. Because they're goddamn fucking disingenuous and stupid. This was only just a dumb accident that resulted in someone's death. And this idiot cop still deserves repercussion. Anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social media. Links are in the description below. And most importantly, follow me on Alt Tech. As you can tell, YouTube is preventing creators my size from growing and actually becoming partners. And they're prioritizing lame stream content over mine. You know, the ones with the check marks and millions of subscribers like the CNNs and the MSNBCs. They're prioritizing those content over mine, and it's making it harder for me to grow. And sometime in the near future, I will start uploading on these sites, possibly even get a chance to make exclusives. So make sure you don't miss out on Alt Tech on these sites such as BitChute, Rumble, Storyfire, and Odyssey, to name a few. You should follow me on all those sites, and I will be finally uploading there pretty soon. Anyway, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.